We venture into the realm of the heavy haulers with this Trevor test when we catch up with Tomoana's Mercedes-Benz Arocs 3363 AS. It's heavy in every way, with a truck and trailer combined tear weight of 57 tonne and a loaded weight today of a modest 107 tonne. It's rated with a 33 tonne GVW and 250 tonne GCM. Making up the weight is the giant Mercedes-Benz 8x6 tractor unit hooked up to a TRT gooseneck trailer with 3 rows of 8 and a rear electronic self-steer trailer with 4 rows of 8. The bridge beam that we're carrying today is not actually one of the bigger ones, weighing in at just over 50 tonne and destined for the transmission Gully Motorway project. The Trevor test kicks off as we leave Waipukura on our way down to the Saddle Road, where we'll cross over into the Manawatu and then carry on down to State Highway 1 to Paikakariki. With 2 escort vehicles out front and 1 behind, you're well protected from the general public on the roads, but as usual, you still see clowns who don't seem to understand the instructions of the escort drivers. The truck drivers, though, are all very courteous towards a wide and heavy load and make the trip south much more relaxing. Climbing up into the cab is very easy for Trevor, despite the height of the floor from the ground. There are 3 really good, deep, wide steps, each one slightly inset from the step below. There are also cleverly designed handholds. There's a long handrail up the side of the door opening and a handhold on this side panel to the left of the steps. Once you're on the first step, you transfer your left hand to another rail that runs up the back of the door opening. When we pull away, the first thing Trev notices is the nice, clean shifting of the G280 16-speed ATM, which is set in auto heavy mode. In this setting, it tends to hold the gears at higher revs, and driver Dave feels it's sluggish. We discussed this at length during the drive, and it's clear that it's revving out past the maximum torque levels, and this does give the feeling of it running out of power. First impressions are that it could upshift around 300 RPM lower, keeping it in the optimum torque range. However, there is good reason for its late upshifting, and that is to protect the drivetrain, as we're talking about a lot of torque combined with very high weights, so the settings in the gearbox are kept more conservative to reduce strain. The engine produces at 625 horsepower maximum between 1500 and just over 1700 RPM, and its 3000 Newton meter maximum torque between 1050 and 1300 RPM. From 1300 revs onwards, it's dropping torque. We also encounter a jolt every time the power comes on, even if Trevor slows right down, then applies constant throttle. Dave says he's mentioned this to the Auckland dealer, Trucks and Trailers. It appears to be coming from around the front drive axle. It's something that will need to be checked out, as it's worrying in something producing this much torque combined with these sorts of weights. You don't want anything loose down there in the drivetrain. Inside the cab, it's all very familiar, very much the same as the Actros Trevor tested 2 years ago. All controls are placed in very logical positions exactly as per the Actros. With its high roof and sleeper cab, it is a nice spacious and light cab interior. It's also a very driver-friendly cab with very low noise levels and even at this heavy weight, a very good ride. The mirrors are right up there with the best, with a good wide, flat upper mirror and a good sized convex mirror below. They work well together, giving good visibility down the sides of the widened unit. Electric adjustment's also useful in this job to help keep track of the trailer through the corners. The 8x6 has 2 rear drive axles and 2 steer axles, the second one right in front of rear tandem drives. Driving this setup, you have to be aware of the effect this second steer axle has, taking weight off the rear drivers on hill climbs. With this sort of weight, you need to adjust to the weight transfer on any significant hills, as well as dialing up the diff locks. It takes a bit to drag 107 tonne up any hill, and with much of the weight sitting on the trailers, weight on the drivers is critical. During the climbs, Dave manually downshifts 2 gears at a time because he's not confident enough to trust the AMT to keep up. And who can blame him? The last thing you need is to have 107 tonnes stored out in a hill. Also, as he says, there's not too much relaxing on this job. Our run to Dannevirke doesn't have any major hills, but even the few dropouts into river gorges and then the climbs out test the Merc's traction. Keeping the truck position on the road is not an issue with the trailer tracking nicely. Obviously, when you first start driving this unit, you're very aware of its size, but it quickly becomes clear that you can hold a good line on the road, mostly within the left lane, just making sure your left wheels stay clear of the edge. Through highway corners, the unit tracks very well, and it's only when you come to very tight corners, such as turning off on a side roads or negotiating roundabouts, as Dave had to in Napier, that you really need the self-steer rear trailer. It's an impressive unit, and it's certainly built tough. Today's bridge beam is only 50 tonne, but other beams can get up to 70 tonne plus, and they either have to go over the Saddle Road or the Napier-Taupo Highway, so this truck will really be tested. You see pictures of these units in Europe carrying heavy loads. but usually on nice flat roads, nothing like the terrain that confronts the Tomoana unit. It's a great example of a super heavyweight truck capable of the toughest heavy haul jobs, but still delivering exceptionally high levels of driver comfort and ease of operation.